Hello, grade 8 Paxet Bonum. So we are going to continue with our lesson in CSS. Um, this time around, we are going to talk about the class selectors. So for our learning competencies, it will just be a continuation of what we have started. We will apply CSS to format web pages according to industry standards, and we will show our creativity and originality in assigned projects. And last time, like I've said, we've learned or I have introduced CSS to you. So I have a review here. Wait, let me just correct that. Okay, I have a review here. I will be asking a question. I want you to pause the video for each question and try to figure out the answer first before proceeding. So what are the three types of CSS? The three different types of CSS are inline, internal, and external. So what are the key differences among the three? For inline CSS, this is applied to one tag only, basically one tag at a time. We use the style or we use the attribute style to a particular tag, and that will serve as your inline CSS. For the internal CSS, this is applied to all tags and it is written inside the page, inside the head tag in particular. For external CSS, the same with internal, the styling is applied to all tags, but it is written on a different file. Another thing is when you use multiple pages, it is better to use external CSS. You just imagine you have 50 pages. You write one CSS file, and then for those 50 different pages, you will just link it to the file, to the CSS file. If you use an internal CSS for multiple pages, you have to write a CSS inside the head tag in all of the 50 pages. So that will be time consuming. It will be a bit hard to do because you have to type in so many codes. So when using multiple files, it is better to use an external CSS. Now another question, using either internal or external, although they have different implementations, bottom line, they are written the same. No, selector, and then inside the block is the property and then the value. So using either internal or external CSS, I want you to think about this, write a rule setting the paragraph tag, setting the text of the paragraph tag into color blue. So to set all paragraph tags into blue, you have to write the selector P. You may ask why P? Because we are using the paragraph tag. This is the tag, so that the selector will be the P. Now inside the property is color and then the value is blue. And when you have paragraph tags inside your body, like in the example provided, we have the first one and the second one. Since our rule states that all paragraph tag will be color blue, for our output, they will be color blue. But what if we want the second paragraph tag, meaning this one, we want the second one to use a different color? Do you think that would be possible? Based on the current understanding that we have regarding CSS, do you think making the second paragraph use a different color is possible? And the answer to that will be, of course, it's not possible. What we have learned is when you create an internal or external CSS, all of the tags will have the same style because we are using one selector only. We are using only this P selector. Therefore, all paragraphs will have the same style. If we are going to use an inline CSS, it's very, very possible. But if you can remember what I have said before, we tend to shy away from inline CSS. It's not really a good practice in the industry because more or less they can destroy the theme or the style of a web page. So that's why we are focusing on internal and external. So going back, um, like I've said, this is not possible with the current understanding that we have. And that is why we will be using what we call the class attribute of an HTML element. But before we proceed to that, let me just point this out. If we are going to place ourselves in the shoes of a computer, if the computer sees paragraph tags or any tag in particular, when the computer sees recurring tags, the computer doesn't have any idea who they are. When the computer sees, oh, there's a paragraph tag, oh, another paragraph tag, but they don't have identities. So let me put it this way. Us as human beings, how will we know if we see two identical twins? How will we tell them apart? If they are very, very, very identical, how will we know who they are? And immediately you may think they have names, right? So you call on a name of one, whoever comes, you will be able to identify who is, primarily because of the name. And that's also how HTML elements can be identified by giving the element a name. There are actually two ways in naming HTML elements. One, we can use this class attribute. We can use the class attribute, or you can use the ID attribute. But this ID attribute, I will not teach you today about ID attributes. We will reserve this on grade 10. Okay, so we will talk about it when you reach grade 10. So right now, we will just cover the class attribute. How can we give names to elements using the class attribute? Let's take a look at this example. So balikan natin yung binigay ko kanina. Sabi ni computer, we have two paragraph tags, but I don't know who they are. If I give a rule to style, like yung color blue, I will just style both paragraph tags. But what if we want a specific paragraph tag to have a different style? We will now give names to paragraph tags so that we will be able to identify them and later on give specific instructions on how to give or how to style elements with a name. So take a look at this. The first one, we added the attribute class and we gave it a name greeting. For the second one, again, we added the attribute class and it gets the value level. So now the computer will be able to identify two two different paragraph tags, primarily because they have a name. What's the name of the first one? Greeting. What's the name of the second one? Level. So they have two different names, even though they are both paragraph tags. So let's take a look on how CSS will be able to stylize a class selector. Now we are going to talk about a class selector. Earlier, we talked about the class as an attribute. Remember, the attribute is a property of the tag. Now we are going to talk about the class selector. When we say selector, we are talking about CSS. So it looks like this. It's very, very much the same with regular selectors. When we do selectors like P or body or H1. So those are the selectors that we normally use. This time around, we will use the class name as a selector. But you have to take note, when using classes as selectors, we have to start with a period with a dot, followed by the class name. And then, dadagdag na natin yung block and property and value. So with the tags given previously, I want you to try applying this syntax. Try to set the first one, the color, into blue, and the second one will have a color that is red. Now to do that, you have to think first, how will you write the selector? How will you start the CSS? So again, as the syntax have mentioned, you have to start with a period first, followed by the class name. Now, what is the class name of the first paragraph tag? The class name is greeting, right? And then we will write the block. Inside the block, we will now use the property color followed by the value blue. And then for the other one, again, since it's a class, we will start with a period. And then the class name is level. And then inside is the color red. So something like this. So when you write these codes, the output would look like this. You see here, this is color blue. It's because of this rule. Again, why was it applied? Because of the greeting. And then for the other one, the second paragraph, it's color red because the selector is using a class name, level, and it's associated with the second paragraph. All right. Now what if we want to change all paragraphs into Century Gothic? Wait, let me write that one down. I have here the two paragraphs. So inside the style, I'll have greeting, and I have level. So these are my class selectors inside. The first one is color blue, while the second one is color red. All right. Now, what if, going back to the question, what if we want to change all paragraph into Century Gothic? So even though, where is it? So even though they are using specific specific selectors, specific class selectors, we can still use a normal selector like a paragraph. So inside this P, this is where we will add font family. And the font family will be Century Gothic. So what will happen here is, since this CSS targets all paragraph tags, meaning these two will have the font family Century Gothic. But because of these two, each paragraph, they have their own classes. This will be applied to the first paragraph, and this one will be applied to the second paragraph. So let's see the output. Wait, did I save? I might be pulling out the wrong file. Yeah, I think I'm pulling out the wrong file. No. Wait, let me check on it. Okay, there we go. So I had a little typo. If you notice, this one was in semicolon. So we have to be very, very careful with the things that we type, because one character will cost the entire website. So I've shown the output. It was changed from the default into one that is using Century Gothic. All right, so now for your activity, using internal CSS, I want you to create a web page that shows the Lordition Creed. There must be two or at least two alternating class styles for the stanza. So the first stanza has one style, the second one will have a different, the third one will get the first style, and the fourth one will get the second style. So alternating. And a different style must be applied to the header. The header will be Lordition Creed. Ay, no, 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 no. I am a Lordician. Yun yung header natin. And then for our level up task, instead of using internal CSS, you use external CSS instead. So here is the sample output. The header has a different style, supposedly. And if you will critique this, you will notice this one, this one, this one, this one, they have the same style, while this, and this, and this also have the same style. And if you will notice, there's a particular background color. So you must know the property for it. You must also know the property for the font's color. I actually changed the font of everything. So you should know the command for that font, changing of the font. Even the body has a color. So try to do that activity, and then a few minutes before the time, I want you to answer our closure questions and values integration questions. Okay, and to help choosing colors, I have here a page. Let me just copy the link and open it. So this one is a great help for web designers because you will be able to pick colors that are very near to each other. Basically, we are talking about color themes here. So you can choose any color, and then if you are going to write or if you are going to get the color, it will give you, you just hover your mouse, it will give you what we call a hexadecimal value. That hexadecimal value, you may use that instead of the word color itself. Like, let's say, for example, this green. Let's use this green, 789E35. So we will use it. Wait, let me add. What's the code again? 789E35. 789E35. So before the start of the digits, you write there the pound sign or hash sign. So that's how we use this color picker. Okay, so please do your activity now. We will do that for about 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes, and then we will close our lesson. So that's it. Thank you.